I just say I met henna because henna predates written history. It's kind of like, I didn't find henna. Henna wasn't lost. It's been around forever. So sort of like when I met henna, I was, in 99. It was back in 1999. I just kind of stumbled upon it and thought it was cool. And I stumbled upon a book. I think I still have it. It was a tiny little primer, henna head to toe, I think. I can't remember the author. But it would just look like a messy, fun project. And my friend Val was, she's an artist, and I lent her the book. And she's like, yeah, we could do this. Let's go down to India Sweet and Spice and get a box of henna. So we did. And we made the hugest mess in her kitchen because it's like green baby powder. It's just dried plant material, and they mill it like flour. And so it looks like green baby powder. And God, we opened that little cellophane package, just everywhere. And then it takes about 12 to 24 hours for the dye to release. So we used a little recipe and we mixed it all up. And I came back the next day and I smeared a little on my palm. And we were like, oh good, all the lumps are out. It's very stringy, I wonder what that's about. And then it left an orange stain, and that was like my first hit of crack. Like, oh my God. And I was crap at it. I mean, you have to, it's like applying icing to a cake. So it's not, if you're using a pen or a pencil or even a brush, you touch it down to the surface, you drag it along, and the line follows. It doesn't matter how fast you go, it doesn't matter how slow you go, it really doesn't even matter how hard you press, the line will follow. But with henna, you've got it in a cone, and it's sort of like a pastry cone. And so it's a squeeze and drag proposition. So any change in pressure, any change in drag, it informs the line. And that's the way I like to work with henna. Each line will dictate what the next line will do. And each shape will dictate what the next shape will be, where it will be placed, what size it will be, what shape it will be. And so I love working like that. It's kind of like a stream of consciousness thing. And sometimes sometimes it flows, and sometimes you have to sit back and look, all right, what have I done? What lines do I like? What is it suggesting? And I try not to over edit. Just go with it. I mean, really, what could happen? It's not like it's going to explode or anything. It's just going to be like either kind of crappy, but something interesting might happen. When I work on maps, I think maybe that is also something that unconsciously was helping me. I mean, when I started working the maps, it was a very frugal thing. I was standing there with all those those Thomas guides in my hand. I was ready to throw them away. And what do we spend most of our money on? Paper. Oh my God. And so I'm like, that's a lot of paper. It's too bad, like, it doesn't have whites, it's only printed on one side. And then I thought, well, a lot of what I do in henna, I just throw it away. I'm like working out things, I'm trying designs. Sometimes I'll put if it's a nice design, I'll put it in a page protector and stick it in a binder and stick it in my booth. But oftentimes I'm throwing it away. Well, why don't I just do it on this and then throw it away? Save me a ton of money. And then I realized, oh my gosh, it looks really cool. Now, what if I put some colored pencil with this? Or it just went off. And what I realized was happening is that the map was informing the work as well. And I wasn't aware of it at first. And now I am aware of it, and I play with the elements, the rivers, the borders and the boundaries and the edges. I love, finding the coastlines and playing with that. And I realized that was what was already happening with the work, even subconsciously, because I'll look at it later. You put it on the wall, you don't look at it for months, and then you look at it and you're like, oh, I think that's why I placed that way. The colors of the map kind of influenced that. And I wasn't really quite aware of it at the time. And that happens now with people too. Sometimes you're aware, and sometimes you're like, oh no, this is what's going to happen. You kind of just unconsciously know that it's going to look really pretty there. There is the added benefit of working on a person that the body part becomes an element of the design. You're not just like slapping the design. If it's on the hand, you're not just slapping it on the hand. You're looking at the contour of the hand, you're looking at the shape of the hand. All of the edges become an element in that design. So at first it's like a conscious effort. Okay, where do I want it to lay? And sometimes it's also a conscious effort because the middle finger does not always line up with the middle of the wrist. It's very interesting. Hands can be extremely wonky. And many times people want something that goes from the wrist across the middle of the hand and down the middle finger. And you're looking at their hand going, we can make that happen. Do you like organic style? Because I can kind of wave it down the middle of the hand, right? So there's always these little tricks and tips that you can do, but it's really nice to have that. It has all of these suggestions already there for you. You're looking at their hand going, oh, that's really cool. They have a shape of hand like this. Oh, I want to put the flower over here. I want to do it a little asymmetrically because I've got all this space over here. And then look at her long fingers and I can make this happen. So it's already helping you compose the design.
You're trying to get to that point where you are emoting through your work. And it's not all about the technique. Oh God, I got to master this technique. Or oh God, I got to master these lines. It's more about now just serving the emotion, the emotional content that you're trying to pin to that canvas, paper, whatever, lump of clay. You're trying to infuse it with that emotional content. And through the henna, there was so much drilling. I used to cover the breakfast bar with paper towels and napkins covered with really wonky, painstaking paisleys and janky little, spirals and lopsided everything, and just all that drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling it, because your canvas is now a person. You can't turn her this way to make sure that you can get at that. You have to learn how to do that spiral from the inside out, from the outside in, going left and right. You have to learn how to do it long and loopy, and you have to learn how to do it all different ways, because you can't turn the canvas is sitting there in front of you.
I love Artswalk. In fact, I'm excited that it's moving to the Main Street Mall, because this is where I got my start. When I started doing henna, I would henna anybody who would sit still. And then a few months in, you start to, that actually looks like a flower. Oh my God, it doesn't look like, some janky thing. And one of the girls I was working on, it was a friend of a friend, Valerie's. And she said, oh my gosh, you should go down to the Artswalk on Wednesday night, or actually it was the Wednesday night market, and set up an umbrella, make a couple of bucks. And I thought that was crazy, but the more I thought about it, the more excited I got. And so it'll be full circle for me. So in spring, I intend to apply and set up my little 5x5 booth. It's very decorated, and offer my henna services down at Artswalk. And it will be, because I love the Main Street Mall, and I love that Artwalk is moving to the Main Street Mall. I think it was really cool next to the Life Arts building in that area. It was very festive, and I love coming down here during Artswalk. We're so lucky, to have Artswalk, and all the young artists come out, and you get to see all this cool work. It's got really good energy, and then all the galleries stay open. And I think it's really, think about all the murals we have now in Riverside. It's tremendous.
I think it's also so important for our young people, because one of the most interesting things that happens in my booth is that young, like preteens and young teens come in, and they, you get chatting, and they're like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, this is what I do. No, what's your job? This is my job. And the astonishment that they don't have to learn marketable skills, learn how to type and file, or join the corporate world. I know I never felt like I had a place there. I didn't know what I would do with myself if I couldn't be an artist. And I love that moment where they look at me and they think, wow, this is possible. You could be an artist. And now with social media and then Artswalks, I think it's tremendous. I think it's so valuable. It really is integral to the quality of life in a city.
My advice to my younger self would probably be to, just go for what interests you. Because what I think is true now is that if you develop a skill at something, it's going to have to be something you're interested in, because you're going to need to put a lot of hours into it. And whatever it is, there's going to be a lot of frustration in those hours. There's going to be a lot of frustration in the learning and the amount of hours it takes to develop the understanding. I learned,
I talk about art because that's what I know best, but the amount of hours that are needed for the muscle memory, the amount of hours that are needed to have the library of elements and ideas, which the doing generates the ideas, the doing of. Just being a dreamer it's a wonderful thing. Dream big and dream, but it is the doing. It is the doing that nurtures and feeds everything. And the passion comes from the doing. I read somewhere that, and I really, when you read things that resonate, that passion is about the questions. And I realized it really is. It's not necessarily the big questions, like, can I do that? Can I achieve that? Can I draw this subject or achieve this technique? It's also those tiny little nano questions that we're constantly asking ourselves. Well, what happens if I make this arc a little sharper or a little softer? What's going to happen? What's that going to lead to? What if I make this shape bigger or smaller? Turn it on its side. What's that going to lead to? And you're constantly, if you're really paying attention, which it's not necessary to pay attention all the time to your thought process, but if you're paying attention, those are the tiny little questions that keep us coming back. Well, what if I change it just a little bit this way? Maybe that'll be more effective. What if I change it a little bit that way? Maybe that'll be more effective. That's where the passion comes from. The interest and the curiosity will carry you through all the frustration that you're bound to butt up against. You are going to bump up against all that frustration. Learning is frustrating. Learning is hard. But the curiosity of wherever that comes from is going to keep you learning and keep you coming back to it. You're not going to be able to leave it alone. That is when you know you got something. That is when you know you are spending your time and your energy in the right place. Because I've been to Australia to teach henna. Really? If you had told me that 25 years ago, I would have laughed so hard. I've been to Budapest. I've been to London 3 times to teach. I've taught all over this country, and they pay for me to come. It doesn't make any sense on paper. It really doesn't, but it's real and it does. So if that can happen, oh my God, anything can happen. Anything at all, right?
100%. That's a great way to end it right there.